Hey friends, I'm having one of those days where I have 100 things on the go. On this counter, I'm rendering down some pork fat to make lard that I will keep in my fridge. It'll keep for up to a year. On this counter, I'm about to start brewing some kombucha. A little over a month from now, May 4th of 2024, there will be the Eastern Ontario Homesteading Conference, and this year it's being held in Denby, Ontario. You can find that information online. Just type in Eastern Ontario Homesteading Conference and you'll find the information. I'll put a link down below to the Facebook group as well. I've offered some kombucha and some SCOBY starters to a couple of friends that will be meeting me at the conference, so I have to get started. I don't keep it going all the time because I can't drink it anymore myself. It actually gives me an allergic reaction. It releases histamine in my body and I have an asthma reaction to it. Although it works great for my digestion, it doesn't work so good for my breathing. So I'll make this up for my friends and I'll disperse some of these SCOBYs. I have a bunch of SCOBYs in there. This is my SCOBY hotel. I'm just going to trade them an empty quart jar for a jar with some SCOBY and a starter, or an empty quart jar with a quart jar of kombucha. They can take one or both or whatever. So if they're coming to the conference and they've got 2 empty quart jars, they're taking home a batch of kombucha and a batch of SCOBY and starter so they can start brewing their own. My kettle is just reheating itself. I'm setting that up to get going now. I do have other plans to be using a pressure canner today, but I'm kind of getting this kombucha out of the way before I do the pressure canning. I just want to can up some broth. It's one of those days. If you've been following me for the Get Garden Active April challenge that I'm doing, I have my phone in my pocket, I have my tracker on, and I will be tracking my steps while I'm doing all of this work today. I've got off to a slow start. It's already after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but I have time. Sometimes you have to take a leisurely start to the day, but this is why I'm doing the Get Garden Active April, because I want to get my body moving, get in the habit of getting outdoors earlier in the day. And I just realized this morning when I was talking to my hubby, I haven't been outside. I haven't stepped outside the door or put shoes on for days. So probably 4 or 5 days. So I need to start doing that. I know we have some compost that needs to go to the bin. I know that my chickens need some eggshells and grit and just things like that he takes care of the chickens for feed and water, but there are other things I should be out there doing too. So come down to the counter and we'll work on this kombucha. I started doing kombucha probably 1.5 years or 2 years ago. I got my original SCOBY by looking on Marketplace and Facebook in a local group, and a woman reached out and said she had one, and hers was sitting idle too, and she revitalized it and had it for me within a few days. So she recommended this book. She took the time and she hand wrote out the recipe for me and everything, and recommended this book. So I picked up this book. Somewhere I have her original handwritten copy. I've done this often enough that I know the process, but I'm a little out of practice, so I have to look up my measurements. I already know that I need a gallon. This is not a gallon, this is 1.5 liters. I need a gallon of chlorine-free water, so that could be filtered water, that could be bottled water, that could be well water that doesn't have chlorine in it, because the chlorine would kill the enzymes that we want to, the good bacteria that we want to work here. You need 4 to 6 tea bags, just regular black tea, orange pekoe tea. I've got 6 because I want to make this extra strong so that it's effective for my friends. It does impact the flavor a little bit on how strong it'll be. Usually I use 6 anyways. I think there have been times when I've even used 8. And so 4 to 6 tea bags, or 1 to 2 tablespoons of loose leaf tea. I'm going to fill that with my fresh off the boil water. You want to put it a little below, slightly below boiling. I have a setting on my kettle that allows me to make it 200 instead of 212. You could let it boil and then let it sit for a few minutes, 5 minutes or whatever, so it's no longer as hot. We don't want to kill that useful bacteria. I'm going to use a wooden spoon. I've never had problem with it, but a plastic spoon or metal spoon would be probably most highly recommended. It's because you don't want to introduce new bacteria other than what's in the tea. I've just washed this out. It's been sitting idle for months and months, so I just gave it a fresh wash, and I made sure that I rinsed the soap out of it thoroughly. I need 1 cup of sugar. I like to use the organic cane sugar. I just get this from Costco. 1 cup of sugar. I'm done with those ingredients. And you need 2 cups of your starter fluid. My hands are really clean. I've washed them 16 times in the last half hour. I'm going to reach in here and remove a SCOBY. See here, there's a film floating on top of this. That is a SCOBY. All of these other layers, all of these are SCOBYs. They grow in layers and you can separate them easily. You could even take, if this was thicker, so you could even take a section of that and drop it in your tea, your cooled tea, and it will do its job. It will develop a new SCOBY on top. I'm going to save that one for myself. I will work with these older ones to get this new one started. SCOBY stands for Symbiotic Culture of Bacteria and Yeast. This is flexible and kind of slimy. Think about handling a mushroom that's been soaking in water, or mushrooms out of a can. It's got that sort of texture to it. And I'm just going to peel this apart. See, I can come in here and I can just split them. I can cut them too. Let's get a few. I'm probably gonna end up cutting this, because it does work. The culture is still there and it still works just fine. Yeah, I'm going to use this. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to have the bacteria. So I'll use that when the time comes. For my friends, I'm probably going to go in there and take that thick mat and slice it so that everybody gets a nice circular piece. I do need 2 cups of starter culture though. SCOBY in these flip top bottles, so if the pressure builds up, they'll pop. I was wondering if this was still powerful enough. That's been in the fridge for months and it still has that much pressure to it. I'm going to give it a little taste and check for look at it, it's fizzy. It's definitely active. It's fizzy. Now this one does have some mother cultures in it, but I'm going to give that a taste. Okay, yes, it is fizzy. That tells me that it's active. It tingles on my tongue. That tells me that it's active. Particularly sweet, so I think I might mix a cup of this and a cup of this, and then put another bottle in here so this can start to rejuvenate more too. It doesn't hurt to have an extra batch going. Ooh. Yeah, I just gave this one a little taste. It's almost like vinegar. I can't use that straight, and this is too sweet for most people, so I don't want to use it straight either. I will mix the two together, and if it fails, I'll still have leftovers. I can come back and do more. So I need 2 cups. Let's go with 1 cup. 1 cup of the sweet and 1 cup of the sour. This is not necessary. This is just because it's been idle for so long. Okay, I have 2 cups of starter. 1 cup of my organic cane sugar in the bottom. I'm going to add 2 quarts of non-chlorinated water. I'm going to give that a stir because this sugar has to be dissolved. I'm going to remove the tea bags. We don't want to squeeze them in this case. Normally I would if I'm drinking it. I used to be really fussy and say, don't squeeze the tea bag, it makes the tea bitter. My taste buds have matured. I can handle bitter tea now. Add your live culture, your starter in it. I would not put the hot tea in there, you want to bring the temperature down because you don't want to kill the bacteria. But because this was cooler and it didn't have starter in it, I can put that in straight away. So I've got that down to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's plenty cool enough. I'm going to put my SCOBY in. I'm going to mix this. I'm going to put my starter liquid in. And I still have to add another 2 quarts of water, because I only have half a gallon. I'm just going to grab cold tap water because we're on a well, it's non-chlorinated. You don't want it to be terribly cold because you don't want to kill the process by cooling it off either. So room temperature is good. So there we go, a gallon of water, 4 cups of hot water brewed to make your tea, 2 cups of starter culture, 1 SCOBY, and 1 cup of sugar. I have some flour sack towels that I use for kitchen work, my cheese and my kombucha and things like that, but just a sheet of cotton towel would work. Any cotton, any material that's breathable. You got to keep the bugs out, but you want to let the bacteria breathe. So now I'm going to put that in a storage place out of the light and out of the heat. You want to keep it between 75 and 80 degrees for Fahrenheit for ideal. 24 to 26 Celsius is ideal. I put this on the floor of my pantry and it's plenty warm enough. There is a vent right in the pantry, so a heat vent. So that'll be it. Now I'll leave that for a week and I'll taste it, and then I'll go every day, every couple of days after that till I find the value that I want out on tartness. You can make it sweet by taking it early, or you can leave it and let it ferment and go a little more tart and sour. I've never done a second ferment, and I'm not going to, and I'm already having trouble breathing from that little bit that I consumed. I might have had 2 tablespoons worth of it. And I'm going to let you go. I need to get an inhaler. So that's it. That's my kombucha. We'll see how it looks in a week or so. I'll bring you back and update you. Hey, it's Editing Karen here. I just opened this up to have a look at it. This is my original SCOBY. Here, do it from this angle. The original SCOBY is this shape here. And you can see here, another layer has developed. It's doing its thing. It's growing a beautiful new SCOBY on top. And now that I've pushed that down, it will grow another SCOBY on top of that too. The SCOBY just forms on the top like a mushroom. So there you go, it's working. I'll have a gallon of kombucha to take to the conference, and I can make more before the conference time arrives. I've got a month. See you next time, guys.